What you think and feel shapes the reality you experience. This audiobook is not just a reflection to listen to, it's a journey into the transformative power that already resides within you. Amid the noise of daily life, we often forget that our mind is the most powerful tool we have to shape our existence. This space is designed to help you remember something essential. Your thoughts are the keys to unlocking doors you didn't even know existed. You won't find magic fixes or empty promises here. What you will find is a guide, a companion to help you reprogram your mind and align your inner self with the future you dream of creating. This audiobook offers a much-needed pause, a moment to reconnect with yourself and plant seeds of love, trust, and infinite possibility. Be mindful of your thoughts. Choose your words with care, because within them lies the power to shape the life you truly desire. It all begins with a thought, a spark, a quiet whisper in the mind. Though invisible, it holds the power to create or destroy, to sow peace or chaos. We live in a world where actions are celebrated, yet it is in the subtle realm of thoughts that the true foundation of our lives is laid. This book invites you to journey into that unseen space, the birthplace of dreams, emotions, and your greatest power. This is not about lofty words or abstract theories. It's about conscious action, about learning to shape your reality from within. Because what you think, what you nurture with faith and love, inevitably finds its way into the world around you. Within these pages lies a reminder of a truth you may have forgotten. You are far more powerful than you realize. Inside you is a force capable of transforming the impossible into the possible, a light strong enough to dissolve any shadow. There are no magical formulas here, only a profound and undeniable truth. Your thoughts are seeds, and you hold the power to choose what you plant. Within these chapters, you'll discover tools, stories, and insights to help you look inward, uncover the hidden light of your mind, and harness it to drive your life toward a future rich in purpose, peace, and abundance. Now is the time to leave doubt behind, to quiet the voice of fear, and to embrace the immense power that lies within you. Dear reader, the thoughts you hold today will become the legacy you leave tomorrow. The awakening of the soul begins as a whisper, gentle, almost imperceptible, like a faint echo of something long forgotten. It stirs within, nudging you toward a truth that feels both familiar and distant. But how do you know when it has begun? How do you recognize the call of your inner self? I know because it happened to me. There was a time in my life when everything seemed fine, or so I convinced myself. Each day, I woke up, looked in the mirror, and told myself, everything is in order, everything is under control. But deep down, a quiet voice would question, are you truly fine, or are you merely sleepwalking through your life? Have you ever asked yourself a question so simple yet profound that it leaves you with nothing but silence? It's not an empty silence, though. It burns. It awakens. And in that silence, I found a light, a flame that had always been there, buried beneath layers of fear, routine, and complacency. Let me tell you this, that flame never dies. It may flicker, it may dim, but it waits, constant and unwavering, for the moment you choose to notice it. The day I finally listened, it was as though the world I thought I knew began to shift. Everything solid started to tremble. The lies I told myself to keep going, the job that paid but brought no joy, the relationships that filled time but not my heart, the love that masked emptiness, suddenly felt unbearable. I realized something profound. I wasn't truly alive. And in that moment, as though a hidden light had been switched on, I understood. The key wasn't out there. It had never been out there. The answers, the truth, the awakening, all of it was inside me, was inside. We're taught to chase endlessly, to accumulate, and to believe that the more we achieve, the more complete we'll become. But tell me, have you ever seen someone find eternal peace in wealth, status, or admiration? You won't. Because the flame, the source of true fulfillment, burns within. Every person you meet, every challenge you face, every moment of frustration or joy, they all hold one purpose, to remind you of who you truly are. The person who angers you is not an enemy but a teacher, revealing parts of yourself you've yet to heal. The delays that frustrate you are moments to pause, to breathe, to reflect. Even failure becomes a doorway, leading you to a greater version of yourself. Awakening doesn't happen all at once. It's not a sudden transformation, but a gradual unfolding, like dawn breaking across a dark horizon. It begins faintly, almost imperceptibly, until it grows and fills every corner of your being with light. And if you haven't yet felt that flame, don't worry. It is there, waiting patiently. The way to it is simple. Listen. Listen to the silence between your thoughts. Listen to the questions that unsettle you. Listen to the moments when your heart whispers that you've wandered too far from yourself. That voice, that spark, is always speaking. It never stops. Each time you choose love over fear, gratitude over complaint, truth over illusion, the flame grows brighter, and as it grows, everything changes. Not because the world around you transforms, but because you do. You see with clearer eyes, feel with an open heart, and move through life with a lightness you never thought possible. Look at yourself now. Ask your heart, am I awake? And if the answer is no, don't be discouraged. The flame is still there, waiting for you to remember it. Sometimes all it takes is a simple declaration, I am here, I am ready to awaken. Once the soul awakens, there is no going back. You are free. And that freedom, that luminous flame within you, is the greatest gift you could ever give yourself. It has always been yours. All it needs is for you to remember. For years, I lived trapped in the noise, not just the hum of the city or the endless demands of daily life, but the relentless chatter of my own mind. It was the kind of noise that drowned everything out, questions without answers, fears that multiplied, judgments disguised as truths. My thoughts became an endless maze, each one opening a door to a darker place, and I couldn't find a way out. One day after a storm, not one of thunder and rain, but one that raged within me, I stepped outside and began to walk aimlessly. I wasn't searching for anything specific. I just wanted to escape, not just from the world, but from myself. That's when I felt it. Silence. It wasn't the absence of sound. It wasn't emptiness. It was something else entirely, something I had never known before. It was as though an unseen hand gently guided me into a space that had always been there. Waiting. What is this? I whispered. The silence didn't answer with words. Silence never does. It doesn't speak. It reveals. It doesn't offer quick fixes or easy answers, but if you have the courage to stay, to sit still within it, it shows you everything. And that's where the real journey begins, not to some distant place, not to a different life, but to the home you carry within you. It is a sacred space where no masks are needed, where no excuses can hide. At the center of this home, there is a light that has never gone out. Often all it takes to see it is to stop running. For so long I had been running, filling every moment with noise, distractions, and endless tasks. Running from what? From myself, of course. But the silence is patient, it waits. And when you finally stop, when you turn inward, you realize the place you feared most isn't dark or empty. It's a temple. I remember one quiet afternoon, sitting by a window, taking a deep breath. My mind rebelled at first, throwing accusations and questions at me. Why are you wasting time? There's so much to do. This won't help. The mind can be restless, demanding, even cruel. But if you don't engage, if you let it settle, it softens. And in that stillness I heard something I had ignored for years. A voice, gentle and familiar, saying, I'm here. I've always been here. It wasn't the voice of the persona I had crafted to meet the world's expectations. It wasn't the version of me shaped by duty and pretense. It was me, my truest self, stripped of all illusions. The silence became my guide, showing me wounds I hadn't healed, truths I'd avoided, and dreams I had buried beneath the weight of obligation. It was like opening a treasure chest I had forgotten existed. I discovered something profound. Silence isn't loneliness. It's presence. It's the doorway to that sacred space where peace resides, where doubts dissolve and fears lose their grip. What struck me most was this. Everything I had been searching for, peace, love, purpose, was already within me. I didn't need to go far to find it. I only needed to return home. The path home is walked in silence. The next time life offers you a moment of stillness, don't rush to fill it. Don't drown it out. Stay. Even if it feels uncomfortable at first, ask yourself, what am I afraid to hear? And if you stay, if you breathe, if you let the silence surround you, something extraordinary will happen. You'll stop feeling lost, not because you've found something new, but because you'll remember that you were never truly lost. You'll see that the place you've been searching for has always been within you, a place of infinite clarity, love, and light. Silence taught me this. Nothing in you is broken. Nothing in me is broken. We are whole. We are light. We are home. So when the world becomes chaotic, when the noise grows unbearable, remember this. Silence is your refuge. In it, you'll find the answers that evade you when you're consumed by distraction. And when you sit in that stillness, when you feel the quiet embrace of your true self, you'll know you've come home. It began as a simple experiment. For 1 week, I made a promise to myself to observe every word I spoke and every thought that crossed my mind. Each time something negative surfaced, I would replace it with something kinder, something truer. I can't became I'm trying and I will succeed. Everything goes wrong shifted into every experience teaches me and makes me stronger. At first, it felt ridiculous, like a game I didn't believe in. A small, cynical voice in the back of my mind laughed, calling it foolish and pointless. But then, something unexpected happened. As the days went on, I felt lighter and freer. The world around me hadn't changed, yet everything seemed different because I was no longer the same. Here's the truth. Words are alive. They are energy set into motion. Every word you speak is a seed you plant in the invisible soil of your life. And sooner or later, those seeds sprout and grow. Have you ever noticed how people who complain endlessly seem to attract even more reasons to complain? And those who speak with gratitude and love seem to carry an unshakable light with them. It isn't magic, though it may seem that way. It's the law of creation through words. Whatever you declare with conviction begins to shape your reality. I remember one grey morning vividly. The sky was heavy with clouds, the roads were choked with traffic, and the day promised to be a mess. The old version of me would have sighed and said, "This is going to be a terrible day." Instead, I took a deep breath and whispered, "Thank you for this day. Everything is unfolding for my good, and I will find beauty, even in the unexpected." No, the day wasn't perfect, but it was different. As the hours passed, small wonders appeared, like treasures hidden in plain sight. A stranger's warm smile, a phone call bringing good news, a quiet moment of peace amid the chaos. That day confirmed what I had only begun to suspect. Words are keys. When you choose words of love, gratitude, and belief, you open doors to light and possibility. When you choose words of fear, anger, or lack, you open doors to darkness. So ask yourself, what are you creating with your words? Whether you realize it or not, every thought, every spoken phrase paints the canvas of your life. Is it becoming a masterpiece, or is it a tangle of doubts and regrets? Words are sacred gifts, the most powerful tools we possess. But like any great power, they must be used with care. Speak with love. Speak with faith. Speak with gratitude. Speak of the life you wish to create, not the fears that haunt you. And if, one day, you catch yourself saying something you don't want to manifest, pause, smile. Say, "I take that back. I choose love, light, and truth." You'll be amazed at how quickly the world begins to reflect the shift, because this is how we create. With words, we shape our lives. With words, we set the foundation for everything we experience. This moment is your chance. Choose to become aware of the power within you. Use your words to build a life that inspires you, that fills your heart with joy. Everything begins with one word, and if you'll allow me, let me offer you mine. Trust. Trust that your mind is the first artist of your reality. When I was a child, I used to close my eyes and imagine different worlds, dancing beneath golden lights, discovering hidden treasures, creating entire universes. But when I opened my eyes, the world seemed unchanged, grey and ordinary. I didn't know then what I know now. The mind doesn't just dream, it creates. Years later, in the middle of a life crisis, this truth struck me like lightning. I sat in my room, feeling as though everything was falling apart. My job felt empty. My relationships were hollow. The future looked bleak. I asked myself, why does my life feel this way? The answer came swiftly, because that's what I believed. Life wasn't just what surrounded me, it was what I projected from within. I didn't see possibilities because I didn't believe in them. I didn't see love because I didn't think I deserved it. I didn't see paths forward because I only believed in walls. Do you see? Everything you perceive begins with what you believe. Most people think they need to see something to believe it, as if life is a finished painting instead of a work in progress. But the universe doesn't work that way. Your mind is the invisible brush that paints your reality. So, how do you change it? By changing what you believe. If you believe you're not enough, life will mirror that belief. If you think everything goes wrong, you'll find endless proof to confirm it. If you believe love is rare and fleeting, it will remain hidden behind your own fears. That day I stood up from where I'd been sitting and looked around my room. It hadn't changed, but I had. I spoke aloud. Everything I see can change if I change what I believe. From that moment on, every thought became intentional. When doubts crept in, I replaced them with new beliefs. I can't do this became, I can learn, step by step. Everything is falling apart became, everything is unfolding for my highest good, even if I can't see it yet. And little by little, something miraculous began to happen. The life I once thought was fixed and unchangeable started to shift. Because here's the secret. The universe responds to your mind. Whatever you believe, you project. And whatever you project, you live. Years ago, I met a woman who, on the surface, seemed to have everything one could desire, yet she lived in a constant state of complaint. "Nothing ever works out for me," she would say. "Everything is harder for me than for others." Her conviction was unwavering, and her life seemed to echo her words in a hauntingly predictable way. One day I asked her why she spoke like that. Her answer was firm, "Because it's the truth." I proposed an experiment. For 1 week, I asked her to change her words and thoughts. Every morning, no matter how she felt, she was to say, "Life smiles upon me, everything flows in my favor." At first, she scoffed, doing it with the skepticism of someone indulging in a pointless exercise. But by the third day, something extraordinary began to happen. An unexpected phone call brought good news. A mundane place she frequented seemed lighter, filled with unexpected warmth. A problem she had been wrestling with for weeks suddenly found resolution. The world around her hadn't shifted, but her perception had, and in that change, her reality began to shift as well. You see, life reflects what we believe. If you hold the light in your mind, you'll see it everywhere. If darkness clouds your thoughts, it will seep into everything. Believe in abundance, and life will rise to meet that belief. Convince yourself of scarcity, and the universe will oblige with endless proof. But here's the secret. You can rewrite the script. Beliefs aren't immovable truths. They're simply thoughts we've repeated until they feel like facts. So why not repeat something new? If you've spent years saying you can't, that you're unworthy, or that the world is against you, why not try the opposite? What would it hurt to say, "I can, I am deserving, the universe is on my side"? At first, it might feel hollow, like acting in a play where you're still learning the lines. But keep going. Faith, after all, is not a feeling, it's a choice. And when you choose to believe in something greater, something kinder, your mind begins to reflect that choice. Faith, a small word, carries the weight of worlds. For a long time I misunderstood it. I thought faith was transactional, something you earned through good deeds or perfect prayers, a bargaining chip for miracles. But life taught me something else. Faith isn't a promise of an easier path. It's the strength to keep walking when the road gets rough. It's not a guarantee that storms won't come. It's the quiet assurance that you'll find shelter when they do. There was a moment when my own faith was tested, a day when the world felt like it was crumbling around me. I sat alone, overwhelmed by a weight I couldn't carry. "I can't do this anymore," I whispered, but those words weren't a surrender to despair. They were an offering. In that moment, I stopped fighting. I let go, not out of defeat, but out of trust. And in that release, I felt something shift. Faith, I realized, isn't about certainty. It's about stepping forward, even when you can't see the ground beneath your feet. Some might call faith naive, a crutch for those who can't face reality. I used to think that too. But faith doesn't blind you to the challenges of life. It gives you the courage to meet them. It's not a denial of hardship, but a quiet rebellion against hopelessness. Faith is the decision to believe in the unseen, to trust that something greater holds you, even when the evidence suggests otherwise. When you choose faith, the world doesn't magically transform overnight. Problems don't vanish in an instant, but something inside you begins to shift. What once felt like insurmountable obstacles become opportunities for growth. Closed doors become redirections. Storms no longer threaten to destroy you. They become teachers guiding you to new strength. Faith isn't about waiting for proof. It is the proof. It doesn't erase pain, but transforms it. It doesn't change the past, but rewrites the story of your future. Faith is the light you carry into the darkest places, the anchor that steadies you when the waves rise too high. Take a moment now. Close your eyes. Breathe. What if today, just for a moment, you chose to trust? What if, instead of resisting the flow of life, you surrendered to it? What if you believed, even in the face of doubt, that the universe conspires in your favor? Faith doesn't promise that everything will be easy, but it does promise that you won't walk alone. And in that promise lies a power that can illuminate even the deepest shadows. The world may not change in an instant, but you will. And as you do, the world will have no choice but to reflect on your transformation. Trust in the unseen. Believe in the light, even when all you see is darkness. Because faith, that small word that holds the weight of universes, will teach you the most profound truth. The sky isn't something you wait to reach. It's a state of being, a place you can live in here and now. There's a hidden force within us, a quiet power often buried beneath layers of regret, guilt, and sorrow. For years, I carried my past like an anchor, dragging it with me through every moment of my life. It wasn't just the memories, it was the weight of them. The mistakes, the heartbreaks, the paths I wished I hadn't taken, they clung to me, whispering that I could never truly be free. Have you ever felt that? As if the shadows of yesterday hold you captive, weaving themselves into your present. For the longest time I believed that what had happened to me was carved in stone, that the wounds of the past were permanent scars etched into my soul. But one day, someone shared a truth with me, a whisper of possibility that cracked open the walls I had built around myself. They spoke of transformation, of an ancient energy that could change the unchangeable. They called it the violet flame. At first, it sounded like a story, a fairy tale for the desperate, but something in me stirred a spark that refused to extinguish. What if it was real? What if healing was possible? One night, alone with my thoughts, I decided to try. I sat quietly, the room dim except for the faint glow of moonlight spilling through the window. I closed my eyes and imagined it, a luminous violet light, swirling softly around me, warm and alive. It wasn't just a color, it was a presence, tender, yet powerful. One by one I brought forth the memories that haunted me, the words that had cut deep, the times I had faltered, the moments when I had felt utterly unworthy. Each memory surfaced like a wave, and with each one I whispered, "Transform this pain into love. Turn this darkness into light." At first it felt impossible, as though the weight was too great to lift, but then something shifted. The memories didn't vanish. They were still there, but they began to feel different, as if the edges of their sharpness were softening. It was like watching a storm dissipate into gentle rain. For the first time, I saw those moments not as chains, but as teachers. Every failure, every hurt, every regret, they had all shaped me, taught me, sand strengthened me in ways I hadn't understood until now. The violet flame wasn't magic in the way I'd once imagined magic to be. It didn't erase the past or make life perfect. But it did something far more profound. It showed me how to release the grip of pain and how to carry my story with grace instead of sorrow. It transformed not what had happened, but how I lived with it. There is freedom in that transformation, a freedom that waits for all of us. You don't have to carry the past as a burden. It isn't who you are, it's only a part of the path that brought you here. If you close your eyes, if you allow yourself to imagine that gentle violet light, you may find the courage to let go, to release the pain, the guilt, the blame, and to watch them dissolve into something beautiful. What once felt like an anchor can become a sail, guiding you forward. And as I continued this practice, something even more extraordinary happened. I began to see the rhythm of life itself, the ebb and flow of joy and sorrow, light and darkness. Like the tide, existence moves in cycles, and trying to resist them only deepens the struggle. There were times when everything seemed to fall apart, when the calm gave way to chaos, and I would ask, why again? Why now? But the answer was simple. The universe breathes in patterns. After every storm comes a stillness, after every night, a dawn. And the darkness, it's not an ending. It's a transition, a space where growth takes root. I stopped fighting the rhythm and started moving with it. When the waves rose high, I let them lift me. When the waters calmed, I rested. Life isn't a straight line, it's a dance. Every challenge carries within it the seed of renewal, every shadow the promise of light. So if you find yourself in the depths, weighed down by what was or overwhelmed by what is, remember this: nothing is permanent. The darkness is not forever, and the past does not define you. Close your eyes. Imagine that violet flame embracing you, whispering that everything can be transformed. Feel the rhythm of life carrying you forward, step by step, breath by breath. Trust that within you is the power to change, to heal, to rise. The universe moves in harmony, and so can you. I used to think darkness was something to escape, a shadow to outrun. It felt like a weight pressing down, a constant reminder of moments when life seemed to collapse under its own gravity. How could anyone accept such heaviness, I wondered. The very idea seemed impossible, even cruel. But over time, I began to see it differently, not as a punishment, but as part of a greater rhythm, a flow that whispers of balance and purpose. To accept the darkness doesn't mean giving in or resigning yourself to despair. It means opening your eyes to its purpose. Pain is a teacher in disguise, showing us what we've buried too deep, what still aches in the hidden corners of our hearts. The darkest moments hold a mirror to our strength, daring us to see what we're capable of becoming. Imagine the bare trees in the depths of winter. They don't resist the cold or the loss of their leaves. They stand in quiet acceptance, knowing spring will come when it's time. Their stillness is not defeat, it's preparation. In the same way, the darkness in our lives gives us space to heal, to shed what no longer serves us, and to make room for new growth. I swore at my own shadows for so long, avoiding them like they were enemies. Attempting to avoid what I believed to be a punishment cost me a great deal of energy, but I quit one day because I was worn out from the battle. In the shadows, I said, "What would you like to show me?" The question wasn't simple, and I didn't always get the answers I desired. However, they were always there for me. Everything started to change, every unpleasant memory, every persistent uncertainty, every concealed worry. The shadows remained, but they became softer and more manageable enough that I could carry them without breaking. A never-ending dance between darkness and light is the rhythm of life. Just like pain, joy comes and goes. Despite how permanent they may seem at the time, neither endures indefinitely. The return of the light provides clarity. It serves as a reminder to continue learning from it and to enjoy the delicacy of its warmth. Remaining in the light is no more sensible than running away from the dark, though. They are both transient. They are both essential. I began to see my life as a series of waves, ebbing and flowing, rising and falling, the light and the darkness, no longer adversaries, became partners in a sacred dance, and I, too, learned to move with the rhythm, to trust that every moment, whether filled with brilliance or shadow, was exactly what it needed to be. When the light graces you again, don't just bask in it. Give thanks. Feel its warmth on your skin and its fire in your soul. But know that it won't stay forever, and that's okay. The rhythm will continue, and the next shadow will come. Not as a thief, but as a teacher. It will prepare you to shine brighter when the light returns, as it always will. There was another prison I lived in for years, one I didn't even know I was trapped in. It wasn't made of walls or iron bars, but of beliefs, small insidious ideas that wrapped themselves around my mind like chains. You're not good enough. You'll never succeed. Life is hard, and that's just how it is. These were the whispers I carried, so quietly ingrained that they felt like truths. But they were lies. The awareness that the lies I had accepted were not mine to bear was the first step toward breaking free. They were echoes of anxiety, comparison, and condemnation from voices long since forgotten. Their power diminished once I started to question them. Is this accurate? Every time a restricting notion came to mind, I asked myself. In most cases, the response was no. I recall sitting down and jotting down each of these ideas one at a time. There, naked and unvarnished, was every idea that had imprisoned me. You don't deserve happiness. You will never succeed. I then scribbled a new truth. I am worthy of joy, beside each one. I get closer to my dreams with each step I take. It seemed like a weight was being lifted with each phrase I typed, like the chains were coming loose. Freedom doesn't come all at once. The ghosts of those old beliefs still visit from time to time, but now I recognize them for what they are, echoes, not truths. And each time I choose to speak my truth instead of succumbing to their lies, I take another step toward liberation. The journey isn't about erasing the darkness or silencing every doubt. It's about understanding that both the light and the shadows are part of what makes you whole. Each rhythm, each cycle, each moment of struggle and triumph shapes you into something more. And when you learn to trust that rhythm, when you stop resisting and start flowing, you discover a truth that sets you free. No matter where you are in the cycle, you are exactly where you're meant to be. There is a profound liberation that begins the moment we start questioning the narratives we've carried for far too long. With each belief we dismantle, each truth we uncover, it feels as if a veil lifts, revealing the expansive horizon of who we truly are. We are not the echoes of what others have told us, nor the weight of our past mistakes. We are not defined by our lowest moments. We are limitless beings, created to be free. Take a moment and observe the thoughts that drift through your mind. What words do you whisper to yourself in silence? Are they your truth, or have they been borrowed from someone else's fears, someone else's limitations? When a thought arises, ask yourself, is this real? If it isn't, replace it. Speak your truth with unwavering conviction and watch as the shackles of self-doubt begin to dissolve. I remember the first time I truly noticed my breath. It was during a storm of chaos in my life, a time when my mind was a cacophony of anxieties and uncertainties. Sitting still felt impossible, yet I forced myself to pause. I closed my eyes and simply focused on the air flowing in and out. That's when I felt it, a shift, a stillness between the noise. With every inhale, a sense of calm began to unfold, and with every exhale, I felt layers of fear peeling away. In that moment, I understood something profound. Each breath is more than a reflex. It is an act of creation. The air we draw in carries with it infinite potential, and the air we release carries the imprint of our intentions. Breathing isn't merely a biological function. It's the most intimate connection we have to the divine. It is the bridge between our physical existence and the vastness of our spirit. When I inhaled, I imagined drawing in light, peace, and strength. When I exhaled, I released every fragment of tension, every seed of doubt. Breathe in love, breathe out fear, I whispered to myself. And the more I did this, the more I realized I wasn't just calming my mind, I was rewriting my reality. Breath is sacred. It is the rhythm of the universe manifesting through us. When you breathe with purpose, you align with that rhythm, creating harmony between your inner and outer worlds. Every inhale becomes an invitation to receive life's blessings, and every exhale a declaration of trust in its flow. This realization transformed the way I moved through my days. When anxiety whispered lies, I breathed in courage. When uncertainty clouded my vision, I breathed in clarity. Slowly but surely, the noise of the world faded, and in the silence, I discovered something I had long overlooked, the presence of my higher self. For years, I sought answers in books, in conversations, in the validation of others. I thought that if I searched hard enough, someone would hand me the secret to who I was meant to be. But the answers were never out there. They were within, waiting for me to listen. Who are you when you strip away the roles you play, the masks you wear, the stories you tell? It's an unsettling question, isn't it? I asked myself this one day, staring into the mirror. The reflection looking back at me wasn't the whole truth. It was a fragmented version, shaped by expectations and fear. And yet somewhere deep inside, I felt the presence of something unchanging, something eternal. That was the beginning of my journey to meet my higher self. It wasn't a voice or a vision that guided me. It was a quiet knowing, a gentle nudge to turn inward. In the stillness of meditation, I felt it for the first time. An unshakable presence that radiated love and wisdom. It wasn't separate from me. It was me. Not the me defined by circumstances, but the essence of who I've always been. The higher self isn't an entity outside of us. It is the truest, most expansive version of who we are. It exists beyond fear, beyond ego, beyond the illusions of this world. And though it speaks softly, it carries the weight of truth. To connect with this part of yourself, you don't need rituals or perfection. You simply need to be still, to breathe, and to listen. With each breath, you draw closer to the core of your being. With each moment of presence, you bridge the gap between the life you're living and the one your soul is calling you toward. There will be times when the noise of the world threatens to drown out that inner voice. There will be days when the weight of old beliefs feels too heavy to bear. But even in those moments, remember this. Every breath is a new beginning. Every pause is a chance to realign with your truth. You are not lost, nor are you broken. You are a creator, a reflection of infinite love and power. And every time you choose to breathe with intention, to see yourself through the eyes of your higher self, you take one step closer to freedom. The journey isn't always easy, but it is always worth it. So inhale deeply, exhale fully, and know that within you lies the strength to break free, the wisdom to rise, and the light to illuminate even the darkest of paths. There came a moment when I understood something that altered the way I saw everything around me. The world outside was not some separate, chaotic force acting upon me. It was instead a perfect reflection of my inner state. If the world seemed tangled in confusion, it was because I too carried confusion within. If it overflowed with beauty and harmony, it was because I had allowed love and clarity to blossom in the depths of my being. Life, I realized, is a mirror. It returns to us what we project, shapes itself around our beliefs, and aligns itself with the stories we tell ourselves. But this mirror holds a deeper secret. Beyond reflecting on our emotions and thoughts, it also reveals the connection to our higher self, the part of us that is wise, infinite, and whole. To find this connection, you must gaze inward with courage and honesty. I asked myself countless times, am I living from a place of ego, or am I allowing my higher self to guide me? The answers were not always easy to face. The ego is loud, demanding, and restless. It clamors for validation, clutches tightly to control, and trembles at the thought of surrender. In contrast, the higher self speaks softly. It guides with grace, trusts without hesitation, and loves without conditions. It whispers truths like, "You are enough," even on the days you feel you are not. Once you encounter your higher self, everything shifts. Fear begins to lose its grip and decisions feel lighter because they are rooted in trust rather than uncertainty. I remember a day when I felt utterly overwhelmed, as though life had conspired to drown me beneath waves of demands I could never meet. In my desperation, I sought stillness. Sitting alone, I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and whispered, "Show me the way." The answer didn't come as a booming revelation or an otherworldly sign. Instead, it emerged from within, a quiet assurance that wrapped itself around my heart like a warm embrace. "Trust yourself," it said. "I am here with you." That voice, my higher self, reminded me of something profound. I was never alone, not even in my darkest hours, and neither are you. Your higher self isn't distant or separate. It exists within you as a constant presence of love, wisdom, and clarity. It is the untouched core of your being, waiting patiently for you to recognize it. The journey to meet this sacred part of yourself begins when you sit in silence and ask the question that echoes through every soul: who am I really? Beneath the noise of the mind and the chatter of the world lies the answer. It doesn't come in words, but in a feeling, a deep, unwavering peace that tells you everything is exactly as it should be. I also began to notice the invisible threads of energy that weave through every corner of existence. Everything vibrates, the stars above, the earth below, the wind as it dances through the trees. Even the quiet moments hum with a rhythm we cannot see but can feel if we pause long enough to listen. And like the universe around us, we too vibrate. We are currents of energy in constant motion, shaping and reshaping our realities. I remember the first time I truly understood this. It was on a day when I felt drained, not from exertion but from a heaviness I couldn't explain. It was as though I carried an invisible weight, dragging me down with every step. Sitting in silence, I asked myself, what is happening to me? The answer wasn't immediate, but as I began to observe my thoughts and emotions, it became clear. My mind was tangled in fear and doubt, my heart wrapped in frustration and sorrow. The people I'd surrounded myself with, the choices I'd made, all seemed to amplify this low vibration. In that realization, something clicked. Our energy is like a melody, and we attract what harmonizes with our tune. If I allowed fear to dictate my inner song, fear would echo back to me in every corner of my life. But if I chose love, trust, and joy, the universe would answer in kind. I understood then that my vibration shapes my reality. And so, I made a choice. I began to tune myself to a higher frequency, one decision at a time. I became mindful of the thoughts I allowed to linger, the emotions I nurtured, and the actions I took. I realized that every moment offers a choice, to resonate with fear or to align with love. When I consciously chose love, my world began to reflect it back to me. This is the power of vibration, the quiet yet profound energy that connects us to everything around us. It isn't something abstract or unreachable. It's as simple as the way you feel when you're near someone who radiates calm, or the unease you sense in the presence of anger. Our vibrations speak louder than words, shaping our lives in ways we often overlook. If you wish to harmonize your existence, begin with awareness. Observe your inner state, tend to it with care, and choose with intention. You are the creator of your reality, a force of energy in an ever-evolving dance with the universe. Every breath you take, every thought you hold, every action you commit is a note in the song of your life. Let it be one of love, light, and harmony. The first step I took was to pay close attention to my thoughts. Every time I caught myself thinking something negative, something that drained my energy and lowered my vibration, I replaced it with something positive and loving. For example, when I thought, "I can't do this," I would counter it with, "I am capable. Everything is flowing in my favor." When I found myself thinking, "This always happens to me," I shifted it to, "Every day brings a new opportunity for something wonderful." Slowly, I began to nurture my emotions. Emotions are energy in motion, and while they can't be ignored, they can be transformed. If I felt anger or sadness, I allowed myself to feel it, but I didn't stay there. I took a deep breath, mentally wrapped myself in light, and repeated, "I choose peace. I choose love. I choose to vibrate high." I also learned the importance of guarding my environment. Everything around us, the people we encounter, the places we visit, the music we listen to, the words we hear, carries its own vibration, and it affects ours. I started distancing myself from things and people that drained me and sought out those that nourished my soul. A sunrise, an honest conversation, a song that lifted my spirit. Little by little, my life began to change, not because the world outside had suddenly shifted, but because I had chosen to align myself with it. I realized that when you vibrate in love, gratitude, and joy, everything around you begins to reflect that energy. The people you meet, the opportunities that arise, even the challenges become lighter because you've become a channel for light. The secret is that you can change your vibration without putting in a lot of work. Simply pause, take a deep breath, and make a deliberate decision. If you sense that your energy is waning, concentrate on anything lovely, such as the sound of the wind, a hug from a loved one, or a mantra that serves as a reminder of your truth. You have the ability to select the frequency that you wish to connect with, because everything in life has a frequency. You will find love if you choose it. You will find serenity if you choose it. You will become a beacon for others if you choose light. Life is something you create, not something that just occurs to you. The simplest way to attract the life you deserve is to learn how to align your energy. I thus challenge you to consider the following question right now. What frequency am I vibrating at? Is that the one I really want? Because the cosmos will react the instant you make up your mind, dear reader. We are energy, after all. Vibration is who we are. Furthermore, we are the architects of our own worlds. As a child, I was taught that good and evil were opposing forces, eternal enemies battling for control over the world. It was easy to imagine them as two invisible armies, locked in an endless struggle. But as time passed, I realized something far more profound. Good and evil are not enemies. They are parts of the same cosmic balance. Without one, the other could not exist. I wondered how this could be true. The first time I heard about cosmic balance, it was during one of those days when everything seemed to be falling apart. I had lost something I thought was important, and the pain made me question everything. Why is life sometimes so hard? Why does evil exist? Wouldn't everything be easier if only good existed? That afternoon I sat by the window, my eyes swollen from tears, my heart heavy. The gentle breeze swept in, and amidst the storm in my soul, I felt a subtle presence. It was a thought that didn't come from my mind, but from a deeper place within me. Everything has a purpose. Everything is balanced. The word balance began to echo inside me, as if it were unraveling a mystery that had been hidden in my soul for years. Could it be that the things we label as bad also had a necessary place in our existence? That in some way they were part of a larger balance that we don't always understand? From that moment, I started to view life differently. I looked at nature, the perfect mirror of the cosmos, and I found the answer I had been seeking. Day does not fight night, it complements it. Winter is not the enemy of summer. Together they create the cycle of life. Storms are not punishments. They are the necessary pause for the earth to bloom even stronger. So too it is within us. There are times when everything feels like light, when joy and love fill us to overflowing. But there are also dark times when pain, doubt, and fear visit us. And even though these shadows may frighten us, they serve a purpose. Why do shadows exist? I asked myself again. The answer came clearly, to show us where the light is. Without darkness, we would never know what it means to shine. Without challenges, we would never discover our true strength. If evil exists, it is nothing more than the temporary absence of good, a void that invites us to fill it with love and truth. But how can we find a balance between these two forces? How can we stop fighting what we believe is wrong and begin to see the purpose behind everything? That's where life taught me its greatest lesson. Everything that exists in this world has its opposite. Our work is not to eliminate one side, but to integrate them in harmony. It's not about denying the darkness or surrendering to it. It's about understanding it, embracing it, and using it as a springboard to something greater. Every time I faced a difficult situation, one that seemed drenched in darkness, I made the choice to look at it differently. I would ask myself, what lesson is here for me? What is this shadow showing me about myself? Where can I find the light in the midst of this? And without fail, I would find something valuable. Pain turned into a door to forgiveness. A mistake taught me humility and patience. A loss reminded me of the importance of loving more deeply. The shadows stopped being my enemies and became my teachers. Here lies the secret. The balance of the cosmos is not found by choosing one side and rejecting the other. It is found by recognizing that both are necessary for our growth. It is in that middle ground where good and evil meet that we find our peace. Imagine for a moment a life without challenges, without darkness, without pain. At first it might seem like paradise, but soon you'd realize that without the night, you would never see the stars. Without difficult moments, there would be no growth, no evolution. The concept of good would lose its meaning without the contrast of evil. So, dear reader, the next time you find yourself in a dark place where it seems that evil has triumphed, stop and breathe. Ask yourself, what balance is my soul seeking in this? What light can I discover in this shadow? Don't fight what is. Instead, embrace it. Use every experience, whether it's pleasant or painful, as a means to draw closer to your true self, the part of you that is in perfect harmony, even when the world around you seems chaotic, because the universe, with all its perfection and mystery, is already in balance. Life doesn't need fixing. It needs understanding, acceptance, and a willingness to flow with it. When we stop seeing good and evil as enemies, we discover something wonderful. We are part of this perfect balance. Light and darkness coexist within us, not to destroy us, but to make us whole. The battle between good and evil transforms into a dance, one that teaches us that true harmony doesn't lie in eliminating pain, but in transforming it. The cosmic balance, dear reader, resides within you. And once you recognize it, everything in your life begins to fall into place. They say love is the answer, but for a long time I asked, the answer to what? We live in a world where the word love is used for so many things that its true essence seems to have been diluted. We say we love the morning coffee, a favorite song, or a person who brings us joy. While these are forms of love, they are often conditional, fleeting, and subject to the whims of life. But there is another love, a love that transcends everything we can understand with our human minds. This is divine love, a force so real it's as tangible as the air we breathe, even though we can't always see it. I discovered this love in one of the darkest moments of my life. Have you ever felt so small in the face of life's challenges, so empty in the midst of circumstances, that everything else seemed meaningless? That was me when I thought I had lost everything. There was no comfort, no answers, only a thick silence surrounding me. One night, in the middle of that darkness, I found myself gazing at the sky. There were no clouds, no stars visible. But within me, something ignited, a tiny spark that refused to be extinguished. Almost without realizing it, I whispered a phrase I had never spoken before. God, if you exist, fill me with your love. I can't go on. I expected nothing. Maybe it was an act of desperation, a cry to the unseen. But then, something happened. There were no thunderous voices, no dramatic signs, but a soft warmth began to grow inside me, as if someone were hugging me from within. My tears kept flowing, but they were no longer tears of sorrow. They were tears of relief. It was as if an invisible force was holding me and whispering, "You are not alone." That was the moment I understood what divine love truly is. Not something sought externally, not something contingent upon circumstances, but an inexhaustible source living within us. It had always been there, waiting for us to remember its presence. But how does this love feel, you might be asking? Divine love doesn't demand, it doesn't judge or compare, it doesn't love you because you're perfect or because you've done everything right. It loves you because you exist. It is a love that doesn't ask for permission to enter, but requires that you accept it. It is the love that embraces you when you feel you can't go on, that calms you when the world around you is in chaos, and that reminds you of who you are when you've forgotten. Someone once told me that divine love is the essence of everything that exists. At first, I didn't understand, but then I saw it, the way the sun rises each morning, without asking whether we deserve its light. I saw it in the wind that gently brushes against the leaves, and in the waves of the ocean, coming and going without tiring. I saw it in the small moments, an unexpected smile, a kind gesture, a sincere hug. I saw it in the hard times when everything seemed lost and an invisible strength lifted me once again. I realized there is no place in the universe where this love is absent, even in the toughest experiences, in the encounters that cause pain or in the goodbyes that break us. Divine love is there, working in ways we sometimes cannot comprehend. But how can I feel it in my life, you might ask? The answer is simple. Stop searching for it outside of yourself. Close your eyes, breathe, and call it. Speak to it as you would to a dear friend, to someone who listens without judgment. Say, "Fill me with your love. Show me your presence. Help me see life through your eyes." And wait. There is no way this love won't respond, because it is what you are. It always has been. When I understood this, everything changed. I stopped seeking externally what had always been inside of me. I stopped asking for love from people who couldn't give me what I wasn't giving myself. I stopped begging for affection because I realized I was already full, complete, perfect, in that love that contains all things. This love doesn't remove your problems, but it gives you the strength to face them. It doesn't prevent storms, but it reminds you that peace can always be found in the midst of chaos. It doesn't make you perfect, but it accepts you as you are, with all your wounds, mistakes, and doubts. Divine love cannot be explained in words, but it can be felt. It feels like home, like returning to yourself. It is that voice inside you saying, "It's okay. Everything is happening for your good. Trust." Today, I want to remind you of this. No matter where you are, no matter what you're going through, you are already loved. Beyond what you can imagine, this love sustains you, nourishes you, and guides you, even when you can't see it. You just need to open your heart and let it in. Let it transform every corner of your life, because in the end, dear reader, divine love is everything. It contains all and it lives in you. It has always been there. You just need to remember it. From the moment we are born, we are given a name, an identity, a label that becomes part of who we are. Over time, this name takes on more than just the sound of syllables. Each letter holds a secret, a vibration, a quiet clue to who we are meant to become. At first, we don't understand its power. We say our name so many times without thinking, without feeling it, as though it means nothing. But what if I told you that your name holds your destiny? I still remember the moment I was first asked, "Do you know what your name truly means?" At first, I laughed. Of course, I thought I knew. I had said it 1,000 times without a second thought. But when I took a moment to search for its deeper meaning, something remarkable hit me. It wasn't a mere coincidence. It wasn't by chance. My name, the very one I had casually repeated countless times, held the essence of who I was and who I could become. Names are not just words. They are vibrations in motion, each letter, each syllable pulsating with energy that aligns with our soul. It's as if the universe, in its boundless wisdom, has given us a secret key to unlock our purpose. But finding that key requires something simple, yet profoundly difficult. We must look inward. What does my name mean to me? I asked myself that question one evening, sitting alone in front of the mirror. I didn't just look at my reflection. I faced a deeper challenge. Not the image in the glass, but what I truly saw within. For years, I had accepted the definitions others placed upon me. My name, my identity, became a collection of labels and expectations, as if each letter carried a burden that wasn't mine to bear. "You are this, you can't be that. You must be this way," I had been told so many times. Somewhere along the way, I had forgotten what my name really meant, the deeper truth of who I was meant to be. Perhaps you felt this too. Maybe, like me, you've moved through life feeling disconnected from your own essence, as if something vital was waiting to be rediscovered. That's when I made a choice. I was going to uncover the secret of my true identity, not the one others had imposed on me, but the one my soul already knew. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and spoke my name aloud, slowly, as if each syllable was a mantra, a door I needed to open within myself. This is me. This is my destiny. This is my purpose, I whispered. And in that moment, something inside me stirred. I understood then. My name was not just a word, it was a call, a confirmation that I had been chosen to live this life with all its light and shadows, its challenges and gifts. Saying my name with intention and love was like striking a spark that ignited a fire within me. Now, I want you to think about this. What do you feel when you say your name? Do you say it with pride, with love, or with indifference? The way you pronounce your name reflects the relationship you have with yourself. If it feels like a weight, like it doesn't belong to you, it's because there's a part of you that still hasn't fully embraced it. Your name is more than a collection of letters. It is the symbol of your existence, a vibration that connects your being with the universe. If you're reading this, I want you to take a moment. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and say your name out loud. Don't say it like you do every day. Say it with intention, as though each syllable carries a piece of your soul. This is me. This is my truth. This is my path. Feel how it resonates within you. Feel how it centers you, clearing away doubts and fears, because your name is not an accident. It is an affirmation. It is the way the universe calls to you, and it's how you respond. There is immense power in recognizing yourself, in facing yourself head-on and declaring, I am who I am, not who others say you are, not who society expects you to be, but who you choose to be. That is your true identity, the one that comes from your soul, the one that vibrates beyond mere words. And when you begin to live from this place, when you speak your name with love and purpose, something extraordinary happens. You become the creator of your own destiny. It doesn't matter what you've lived through or how many times you felt lost. You can always return to yourself. You can always remember who you truly are. Because in the end, dear reader, your name is your destiny. The secret to your inner identity is waiting for you to discover it. Repeat your name. Love it. Respect it. Let it be the key that unlocks the doors to your true self. Say your name. Reconnect with yourself. Walk toward your destiny. There comes a moment in life when you look around and ask, who am I really? Not who you pretend to be, not who others expect you to be, but who you are at your purest essence. Often this question arises when the noise of the world fades, and you're left alone with the voice inside you, the one you sometimes ignore because its truth is uncomfortable. In that silence, I discovered something I didn't like. I wasn't free. I wasn't chained physically, nor was I living in a prison of walls, but something much deeper kept me trapped, my ego. That part of me I had so carefully crafted over the years, a shiny armor that promised to protect me from the world, but actually kept me from what I longed for the most, freedom. What is the ego? I wondered that afternoon as the sky turned soft with the colors of sunset. The ego, I discovered, is not an enemy to defeat. It's not inherently good or bad. It simply is. It's the voice that tells you you need to stand out, to win, to never lose control. It's the part of you that seeks constant validation, that compares, that judges, and that fears being small. For years, the ego had silently guided me, pushing me to seek recognition, to prove myself to others, to show I was enough. But the more I listened to it, the emptier I felt. It was like walking around with a mask on, a mask that was heavy and uncomfortable, but one I was afraid to remove. Who would I be without it? I asked, filled with fear. And there, in that question, was the trap. The ego had made me believe that without it, I didn't exist, that if I stopped seeking approval, I would lose my value, and that if I let go, life would crush me. But one day, during one of those storms that shakes your soul, a voice within whispered, "Freedom is not in winning, but in letting go." It was like a beam of light breaking through my shadows. For the first time, I understood that the ego was not my true self. It was simply a role I had been playing. Letting it go didn't mean losing myself. It meant finding myself, That was the day I made the decision to free myself from the chains that bound me. Not all at once, because the ego is clever and loves to hide, but gently, with love, patience, and a steadfast determination to uncover who I truly was beyond my fears, my achievements, and my failures. How do you let go of the ego, you might wonder? The first step is to observe it. The ego does not remain silent. It shouts, it demands, it reacts. Each time I caught myself comparing myself to others, criticizing myself, or seeking validation, I stopped and said, "This is not me, this is my ego." I watched it without judgment, like watching a river flow by, and gently said, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but today I choose to let go." Over time, I learned to ask myself, where is this action coming from? The ego always seeks something: power, control, recognition. But the true self, the one that lives deep within, only seeks to give. Give love, give truth, give peace. In that simple act of giving without expecting anything in return, I began to experience something I had never felt before: freedom. The freedom to not have to prove anything to anyone. The freedom to be vulnerable, to make mistakes, to not have all the answers. The freedom to stop searching outside of myself for what already resided within. That's when I realized that beyond the ego, life feels light, flowing, and real. You no longer need the world's applause because the love you've been searching for already lives inside you. You no longer compare yourself to others because you understand that each being is unique and perfect in its own path. You no longer fear letting go of control because you trust that the universe will always support you. And what happens to the ego, you may ask? The ego doesn't disappear. It's part of our human experience, but it no longer rules you. It becomes a servant, not a master. You learn to use it when necessary, but you don't let it take the wheel of your life. Today I invite you to look within. Ask yourself, what still holds me back? Which masks do I refuse to let go of? And when you find them, don't judge them. Observe them with love and say, "Thank you, but today I choose freedom. Today I choose to let go." Because beyond the ego, dear reader, lies the most beautiful freedom that exists, the freedom to be yourself without chains, without fear, without masks, just you in your purest essence, lighting up the world with the truth of who you really are. I used to hear the word perfection and imagine an unreachable goal, a place where no one ever arrives, no matter how hard they try. It felt like a mountain without a summit, an ideal so unattainable that it only served to fill us with frustration and guilt. But over time, I realized that perfection wasn't what I thought it was. It wasn't a destination. It was a journey. And true mastery wasn't about being flawless. It was about learning to walk with awareness, love, and humility. I learned this lesson on one of those days when I felt like I had failed in everything. I had done something I wasn't proud of, something that made me judge myself harshly. I sat alone, listening as my mind tore me apart with cruel words. "Why can't you do this right? Why do you keep stumbling?" I saw myself as small, limited, and filled with doubt. And then, as if a different voice broke through the chaos of my thoughts, a question arose from the depths of my being. What if perfection is not what you think? I fell silent as if this question were pointing me toward a door I had never seen. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and let the answer come. In that moment, I understood something that changed everything. Perfection is not the absence of mistakes. It is a constant evolution. The universe itself is perfect, not because it is static, but because it is always in motion, always growing. The planets spin in harmony, the seasons flow without pause, and the sun rises and sets with precision every single day. Yet that perfection doesn't exclude chaos. It doesn't fear moments of imbalance. It embraces them, knowing that everything is part of a greater balance. So, how do I reach mastery? I wondered that night. The answer came softly. You must accept that you are both a student and a teacher simultaneously. There is no end point. There is no day when you can say, "I've made it. I'm perfect now." Mastery is not about reaching a destination. It's about how you choose to walk the path. From that moment on, I decided I would no longer judge myself for my missteps. Each error, each experience, and each challenge became an opportunity to learn something new. Perfection was no longer an impossible standard. It became a state of presence, a daily commitment to my own evolution. True mastery, I discovered, begins with humility. It is the recognition that there is always something to learn and always a way to improve. But it is also the knowing that in this moment you are already enough because you are exactly where you are meant to be. Have you noticed how life itself moves? A river doesn't stop because there are stones in its way. It flows around them, smooths them over, and transforms them with time. That's true perfection. Flowing, adapting, transforming without losing your essence. So, when you face a difficult moment, when you feel far from that idea of perfection, remember this: you are already on the path. You don't need to rush. You don't need to struggle. You just need to trust and take the next step with love. Mastery is not about avoiding mistakes. It's about rising with greater wisdom each time you fall. It's about learning to listen to your inner voice amidst the clamor of the world. It's about recognizing your light on the darkest days. It's about choosing love over fear again and again. But what if I'm not enough, I wondered, on the days when doubt crept in. The answer was clear. You are enough because you exist. You are enough because you are here walking this path. Perfection is not in what you achieve, but in who you become as you journey. Every step you take, even the ones that seem small or misguided, brings you closer to your true essence. The road to perfection is not linear. There are hills and valleys, sunny days and nights without stars. But every experience, every encounter, every challenge has a purpose to remind you of who you really are. If today you feel lost, if today you think you're not perfect enough, stop and breathe. Look back and see how far you've come. Every step, even the hardest, has been part of your mastery. Because true perfection is not the absence of flaws, it's the ability to see the beauty in your process. It's in the love with which you treat yourself and others. It's in the patience with which you allow life to shape you, like a sculptor who never stops working on his most precious masterpiece. True mastery, dear reader, is the art of being yourself, constantly evolving, always in love. And when you understand this, when you let go of the need for perfection and begin to live from your truth, you discover something magical. You are already perfect in your essence because you are part of the universe's perfection. Between fear and faith, I've always believed fear is a silent thief. It steals your peace, your confidence, and most of all, your belief in yourself. But the most dangerous thing about fear isn't fear itself. It's the power we give it when we choose to listen and obey. For a long time, I lived caught between two forces: fear, which paralyzed me and whispered I couldn't do it, and faith, which, though faint, was like a flame that refused to go out. Fear entered my life in many disguises. It showed up as doubts that held me back from making decisions. It was in the voices telling me I wasn't good enough. It was in the times I let opportunities slip by, afraid of failing. Perhaps this sounds familiar. Perhaps you, like me, have felt that knot in your chest, that shadow telling you not to take a risk. I remember one particular moment when fear had me completely in its grip. I was about to make a major decision, one that could change the course of my life. But the more I thought about it, the more afraid I became. It wasn't irrational fear, but logical fear. What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if I lose what little I have? These questions ran through my mind like a broken record, freezing me in place. I felt paralyzed, as though I was surrounded by invisible cliffs. But then, in the midst of my inner storm, a different question arose. What if it goes well? It was as if something inside me, something far stronger than fear, woke up from its slumber. That question was the voice of faith, that quiet power that resides within us all, waiting for us to choose to listen. I stood still, as if time had paused, and then it hit me. Fear and faith cannot occupy the same space. Where there is fear, there is no faith, and where there is faith, fear cannot exist. But how do you choose faith when fear feels so overpowering? The answer came softly, like a whisper from the universe. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it. That day I realized the only way to free myself from fear was to embrace my inner power. And that power, dear reader, doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from success, approval, or perfect circumstances. It comes from the certainty that we are one with something much greater than ourselves. Faith isn't just a pretty thought. It's an act of courage. It's taking the first step even when you can't see the whole path. It's trusting that, even when everything seems dark, there's a light waiting for you at the end. It's knowing that you are not alone, that the universe is holding you even when you doubt yourself. Since that day, every time fear knocks on my door, I choose to remember who I truly am. I sit in silence, take a deep breath, and remind myself that I am not alone. Within me lies the same power that created the stars, the same love that holds the world. Fear has no power over me because I choose faith. I won't lie to you. Fear still comes around. It always will, because it's part of the human experience. But the difference now is that I don't give it control. I see it, I recognize it, and I choose not to listen to its lies. Instead, I choose to trust the voice of my soul, the faith that reminds me that anything is possible. If today you feel like fear is winning, I want you to do something. Close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what would I do if I had no fear? What would I choose if I trusted myself and life completely? The answer that comes will be your truth, your guide, the light you need to take the next step. Because the power has always been inside you. It always has been. All you need to do is embrace it. Let go of fear, let go of doubt, and choose faith. Choose to trust the path even when you can't see it all. Choose to take the first step, even when every part of you is trembling. Because every time you choose faith, you are telling the universe, I trust, I am ready, I am stronger than my fear. And I promise you, when you do this, when you dare to act with faith, something magical will happen. Fear will dissipate, like a shadow that vanishes when you turn on the light. You'll realize the power was always yours. You never needed anything else but to remember it. Dear reader, you always have a choice. And when you choose faith, when you decide to trust in your inner power, you will find that there is no chasm too deep for you to cross, nor any dream beyond your reach. For faith does not only transform your life, it transforms you. A silent revolution, the new way of thinking in action. A revolution doesn't always begin with noise. Sometimes the most profound transformations occur in silence, deep within us, where no one else can see. The world might appear unchanged, but you have evolved. And when you change on the inside, everything around you begins to shift as well. I realized this on the day I decided to experiment with something that seemed too simple to be true, the power of my thoughts. I had been taught to believe only in what I could see, touch, and measure, but never in the invisible. The mind, I thought, was just a tool to solve problems. But one day someone told me, your thoughts create your reality. I almost laughed, thinking, that can't be true. How could an idea or a mental image change something as concrete as my circumstances? Yet, deep inside, something resonated, and although my logic tried to reject it, my heart urged me to give it a try. I started small, like a game. I chose a simple, positive thought, one I had never considered before. I repeated it to myself like a mantra, blending skepticism with hope. Everything is working in my favor. At first, nothing changed. The world seemed the same, but inside something began to shift. Whenever a worry arose, I would remind myself of that thought. Whenever I faced a problem, I chose to trust in it. And slowly, almost without noticing, my reality began to move. Doors that I thought were closed began to open. Situations that seemed chaotic started to fall into place. The people I needed showed up at the perfect moment. It was then that I understood that the mind is not a passive instrument. It is a generator of realities. The revolution had begun, but not outside of me, within. How does this work? I asked myself over and over. The new way of thinking, as I later explained, isn't magic or a mere illusion. It is the conscious application of a universal law. Energy follows thought. Where you place your attention, you place your power. If you focus your mind on scarcity, fear, and difficulty, that's what you create and attract. But if you choose to focus on abundance, faith, and possibility, the universe responds accordingly. So, can I change my life just by changing my way of thinking? The answer is a resounding yes, but it's not as simple as it seems, because changing your thoughts means revolutionizing your entire being. It means challenging the beliefs you've held for years. It means letting go of the habit of complaining, criticizing, and living in fear. Most of all, it means bravely choosing what you want to think, even when the world tells you otherwise. I had to face my own limits. There were moments when everything seemed to be going wrong, when my mind wanted to return to its old patterns. You can't do this. It's not working. It's impossible. But it was in those moments that the true revolution happened. Because each time I chose a new, higher thought, I felt like I was freeing myself from an invisible prison, one I had built myself. I realized that my thoughts didn't just affect me. They were seeds I was planting in the world. Every thought of love, peace, or abundance was like a spark igniting a new reality, not just for me, but for everyone around me. The new way of thinking isn't just a personal philosophy. It is a call to act from truth, from the awareness that we are the creators of our own experiences. What would happen if we all started thinking differently, I wondered one day. Imagine a world where people choose thoughts of love over fear, where each person takes responsibility for what they project and consciously decides to create a better reality. That would be a silent revolution, one that doesn't need loud cries or banners, because its impact is felt deep in the soul. Since then, each day has been an opportunity to choose. I choose what I think, what I feel, and what I project. It's not always easy, because the mind often wants to return to what is familiar. But I have learned that thought is power, and with every thought, I am building the world I want to live in. If today you feel stuck, if you believe you have no control over what happens in your life, I want you to ask yourself, what am I thinking? What am I believing? And then choose a new thought. One that lifts you. One that reminds you of the truth of who you are. Repeat it until it becomes yours, until you feel it in every cell of your body. Because this is how the revolution begins, in silence, in your mind and heart. And when you do this, when you take the power of your thoughts and align them with love, truth, and faith, the entire universe moves to support you. You are more powerful than you realize. Your mind is a channel, and your thoughts are the seeds. Choose to plant with love and watch as a new reality blossoms before your eyes, because when we change within, we change the world. There was a time in my life when I believed that heaven was a distant place, something that existed only after this life. I imagined it filled with soft clouds, angels, and an indescribable peace. But the more I thought about it, the farther it seemed to drift away. It was as if I were told that heaven was not meant for me, that it belonged to someone else. Then, life, as it always does, posed a question that would change the way I saw the world. What if heaven is already inside of you? What if it has always been there, waiting for you to discover it? This question left me stunned. Heaven inside of me. I looked at my life filled with problems, worries, and moments of chaos, and I saw nothing that resembled the serenity I had imagined. But somewhere deep within, something stirred. It was as though a gentle voice was telling me that the answer had always been within me, in the one place I had never thought to look. My mind. The mind. An infinite space where we create worlds, where thoughts are born, where everything begins and ends. For years I had allowed my mind to be clouded with fear, guilt, anxiety, and doubt. I had believed these were inevitable parts of life, and that I had no control over them. But then I realized something profound. My mind is a temple where I can choose to create either heaven or hell, and the choice is mine. I remember the day I decided to explore this inner space. I sat in silence, my eyes closed and my heart racing. The noise in my mind was deafening, thoughts rushing in and out, uncontrollable, reminding me of everything I wasn't, everything I lacked, everything I should fear. I felt like giving up. I can't quiet this, I thought. But then I took a deep breath and decided to stay. It was as if I had forced myself to remain still in the middle of a storm, while chaos roared around me. And then, a a small light began to shine within me. It was barely visible at first, but it was there, waiting for me to see it. It was the hidden light, the same light that exists within each of us, though we often cover it with layers of dark thoughts. I realized this light was the part of me untouched by fear, pain, or circumstance. It was the divine spark that connected me to everything pure, everything good, everything eternal. It was heaven. And I wondered, can I hold on to this light? I decided to try. Every time a thought of fear or doubt arose, I chose to return to that light. It wasn't easy at first. The shadows seemed stronger. But over time, the light began to grow. I realized I didn't need to fight the darkness. I only needed to ignite the light. That was when I understood that heaven is not a place. It is a state of mind. No matter what is happening outside, you can be in the most difficult moment of your life. But if you find heaven inside of you, no one and nothing can take your peace away. You might wonder, how do I find this heaven? It starts with a simple act. Choose your thoughts. Observe what is happening in your mind and ask yourself, does this bring me closer to the light or pull me away from it? If it's a thought of fear, let it go. If it's a thought of love, hold on to it and let it grow. Repeat to yourself, I choose to see the light. I choose to find heaven in my mind. Do this over and over and it will become a habit. You'll discover that slowly your mind will stop being a battlefield and will transform into a sanctuary. Peace will no longer be something external, dependent on circumstances. It will be something that lives within you, ready to welcome you every time you need it. That is the power we all have, even though we often forget it. We are the creators of our inner experience. Heaven isn't waiting for us to deserve it out there. It is already inside, waiting for us to choose it. Since that day, whenever chaos knocks on my door, I close my eyes and look for the hidden light. I find it in my breath, in a word of love, in the simple act of trusting that everything is working in my favor. And in that moment, heaven manifests, not because the world has changed, but because I have decided to see it differently. If today you feel that the noise in your mind is pulling you away from peace, I want you to remember this. The light is there, even if you can't see it yet. You don't need to search for it outside yourself. You only need to calm down, breathe, and look within. The heaven you seek is not in the future, nor in some distant place. It is here, now, waiting for you in your mind. And when you find it, dear reader, you will discover the greatest miracle of all. The light you have always sought was inside you, creating a conscious future all along. I've always believed that the most powerful thing we possess is not our hands to build, our words to express, or even our dreams to imagine. The most powerful thing we have is our thought. Every thought we generate is a seed, a vibration sent out into the universe, and though we cannot always see it, its impact resonates further than we can imagine. I remember the first time I truly understood the power of my thoughts. It was an ordinary day, one of those when life seems to move along without any major disruptions. But something inside me was restless. My mind was filled with worries, repeating the same thoughts over and over. What if this doesn't work? What if everything goes wrong? It felt as if my mind was trapped in an endless loop of doubt and fear. I paused for a moment and asked myself, why am I thinking this way? What am I creating with these thoughts? The question froze me. I had never considered that my thoughts could be acts of creation. I had always seen them as fleeting, like clouds passing through the sky, here one moment and gone the next. But then, something clicked. I realized that every thought leaves an imprint, an invisible legacy that shapes the reality we live in. It was a wake-up call. I understood that if I wanted to change my life, I had to start with changing the way I thought. I couldn't keep planting seeds of fear and expect to harvest a life filled with love and fulfillment. I had to be more conscious, more intentional, more loving with the thoughts I chose to hold. But how does one do that? How do you transform a mind that's been conditioned to react, to doubt, to fear?